Welcome.
Welcome to Switching Reels.
I was going to say that.
Hi, Connor.
Hi, Trenton.
Oh, what are we doing here? This is Switching Reels.
Yes, the podcast where we talk about movies and definitely not about Uranus.
Absolutely not about Uranus.
Off camera or on?
Oh, and nowhere do we talk about that. Only in our space podcast, which we don't have.
Yes.
Oh,
Excellent.
if any of you ever want to see the pre-show, let me know, and I will release parts of the pre-show. It's only ever like a max of 5 minutes long, but we get up to shenanigans.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Most of the times.
Sometimes it's boring.
Most of the time, it's pretty tame.
Yeah, normally it is.
And other times we go on
2 3 minute,
3-ish,
4 minute,
yeah. 3-ish
tangents
minutes.
on space.
Yeah.
All right, what do we watch today?
We watched Castle in the Sky,
Castle in the Sky,
which is the third movie on our tier list.
which is I'll have some more information on that later.
I think it's right there.
I think it might be on the printer. So at least the first part of it. This one will be mine. I need to figure out what color yours is. But yeah, so this is on the tier list somewhere. Is what tier is this Miyazaki film to you?
This one is on rewatch probably high A.
Nice.
This doesn't quite hit us, but it's close.
Cool.
And the short version of that, in which I'll get into more detail on later, is I feel like this is a movie that has so much perfection in it.
Yes.
It's just as a cohesive whole. It doesn't quite mesh all of those things as well as I would like.
Yeah. Cool fact that we learned during watching it is the first so far in the filmography that isn't an adaptation. Both Lupin the Third and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind are both adaptations of manga, and this one is not. This is original.
Yes.
So that's really cool.
And from my understanding, and again, I might be completely wrong on this, but from my understanding, none of the rest of the Miyazaki films will be.
So exciting. I feel like that's a good way of getting into the industry, or like really not getting into the industry, but like, hey, here's a thing that I have a known audience for.
Right.
Here's an adaptation of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a rare crossover, because I think most of the people that do anime are really big fans of manga that already exist.
Totally.
This is just my perception as an outsider, so do not hold me to any of this. I know nothing about this industry.
And let us know.
I know about the Hollywood film industry, and even that is mostly from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
But one that's done a lot of study and has had a lot of tangential interactions with it. That said, my understanding is most people that want to do anime, film, or TV are really big fans of manga, and they want to adapt those stories.
Exactly. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and so I think that's part of the reason that anime tends to be more faithful to manga than, say, you look at Western TV and movies, and there's a huge change in adaptation most of the time. You don't see that quite as much with anime.
Yeah.
So I think it's really rare that you find someone who is willing to do the manga adaptations, but also really wants to tell their own films.
Story. Yeah, exactly.
And, tell their own stories.
It's going, hey, do your best to actually adapt this, take the source material, put it into a different medium. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so how are we doing?
Where does this go on your tier list?
Okay, on my tier list, I'd say it's a solid B.
Okay.
Our tier list is only going to be able to have 4 tiers. It's
Oh, okay.
probably a good thing to mention at this point. So all the things that you've put into
So Lupin goes into
C tier.
C tier. Okay.
Yeah.
But
C
it's bottom
for,
of C tier.
Exactly. You can put it at the very far edge of C tier. You're all good there. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. Let's go over the movies we have so far, because then we can look back on it when we actually have the tier list.
I think I put Nausicaa at like a solid B. Might have been a low B.
I feel like you still gave it an F for Miyazaki.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Cool.
There's no way I did that.
Okay. You gave it like a 3 in technical or enjoyment.
No.
One of those two. I thought you did.
I may have given it.
Maybe it could have actually been, because I edited the other one recently. So could have
Oh,
been
it might have been
Cagliostro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Castle Cagliostro had a whole lot of things that I was like, oh, this doesn't live up to what a Miyazaki film is for me.
Exactly.
I would say this is the first one that lives up to what a Miyazaki film is.
And that's a really, really good point. Out of the other two that we have seen, this is the one the first one that like really feels Miyazaki.
Yeah.
There are pieces of Miyazaki in the other two.
In Nausicaa. Well, okay.
In the other two, I liked Castle Cagliostro. It's still C. I would agree with that probably. Because I don't think I'd put anything in C otherwise. It's the only one that I feel is C. But
yeah. So that said, I do think that there are a lot of small perfections with this.
Absolutely.
I think as a whole, it doesn't feel disconnected at any point, but it doesn't really feel like a full masterpiece.
Completely agree.
That said, should it go on the top 250 list? I still think it should be.
I would also probably agree with that. As long as it didn't knock anything else off of the top 250 list that is also Miyazaki. So.
Fair enough. I mean, we already have probably touched on this, and we're going to agree. Like, Kiki's Delivery Service, it's a crime that it's not on there.
It's really sad that it's not on there. I love I'm really looking forward to seeing Kiki's again, because I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
So.
I've seen it once or twice, but
has a very good memory in my heart.
Yeah.
It's just such a positive movie.
If we're not careful, we'll just talk about Kiki's
before we I have a lot of things to say about this one. So where would you put enjoyment here?
Enjoyment? All right, here's the thing. I've watched this before, and it's been a 10 on enjoyment for me.
Nice.
This time around, I'd probably put it at like a strong 7 to a light 8.
I think it's because you have to use these muscles more now. Go and like start it and putting it on a scale.
I don't think that's the case.
Really?
I think it's all about mood for me. This one is one that if I want to watch Castle in the Sky, nothing else will fill that void.
That is the movie craving.
There is no other Miyazaki movie that will fit and fill that craving. The closest might be like, I can't even think of it.
Yeah, because it is a unique movie.
Because this is one of the movies to me that feels the most like just wholesome adventure.
Agreed.
With maybe the exception of Lupin the Third, but like
nice,
I don't like that one
exactly.
Very much. And it doesn't have sort of like the majesty that this one has, especially at the end.
That's so good. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So where'd you put this technically?
Technically, with story structure being a factor in our technical, this gets a strong 8 to a light 9.
Totally.
From me. There are enough things in this that still make me feel like the phrase that came to mind was subtle touch.
Yeah.
As I was watching this.
Absolutely.
A lot of things that, like, if you're not paying attention, you're like, oh, that was a transition, and I totally missed that it was.
Exactly.
I just knew that I was in the new scene.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because it's designed that way. It's supposed to feel like it's supposed to feel like everything just kind of moves from one thing into the next without really having to feel like, oh, now we're in a different thing.
Exactly.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Enjoyment for me, I'd probably put it at a very strong 7. Like that's like right smack dab in the middle of 7. Technical, I will put at also a 7, and I'll go and talk more about that, I think, on the other side of the wall. But the major thing is, I can never remember the plot. I'm always surprised watching this movie, and I shouldn't be. I've seen this movie like 3 to 5 times. I can't even remember the actual number, but 3 to 5 times. And every time I'm surprised. I start watching the movie and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a character in this movie. Oh yeah, that's a character in this movie. Oh, interesting. That's a plot point. And you just keep remembering them because nothing sticks except for the robots.
That's not true.
City, no, for me, nothing sticks except for the robots in the sky city. And that's it. That's all it is for me.
You don't remember the Patsu's uncle who thinks that they're goblins?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, Connor.
That's one of my favorite things.
I know. So let's go over to the wall, and we'll go and mournfully climb over this wall.
I will say before we go any further, there are probably a lot of things that I said last week about Nausicaa that would ring equally true about this movie, and I will not care.
And I will not care. Good. That's fantastic.
Because I
know what you
like this movie better.
Exactly. That's fantastic. Let's go talk about it.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, again. This is Switching Reels.
It was switching reels before, but it's still switching reels.
Exactly. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you like what we're doing, share it with people if that's your jam. And stick around because we'll be having just so many cool things going on. We have a theme song. We'll be getting more new things. Yeah, we'll talk about at some point after I do them. After I tell Connor that I'm doing them.
Will one of those things be intermissions?
Ooh.
No, we don't need intermissions.
Hello, it's a 40-minute podcast. You get a 4-minute intermission in the middle for doing something. I don't know, man.
No, I'm thinking like it's an hour-long podcast.
20 minutes
15 minutes at the beginning.
Yeah.
30 minutes in the middle, 15 minutes at the end.
Let us know what you think about Connor's idea on intermissions. Thanks. All right, let's get into it.
This is why Trenton has ideas and I do not.
You can absolutely have ideas. There are no bad ideas. There's just not right now ideas. And those might stretch into perpetuity.
Castle in the Sky.
Castle in the Sky. So the primary gripe that I have with this, the things that are good, characters, so fun and good, and like really depth. Like there's a lot of depth to most of the characters introduced in this movie, and there's a lot of them.
I'm actually going to push back on that a little bit, but I want you to continue. I want to hear the rest of your thoughts.
Lovely. So I really like most of the characters. I love how pretty all of the settings are, but there are too many of them, I think. So very gorgeous artwork, very gorgeous art style, lots of settings. I also think the theme is light until the last 15 minutes where they like try and hammer you with, I don't know entirely what the theme will be, so we'll talk about that as well. But they hammer you with something heavy.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, should I be picking this up and what should I do with it? Those are my primary things that are sticking out to me. And then again, I can't ever remember what happens next in the plot.
So characters are great.
Yes, let's do this.
Settings are pretty.
Yeah.
But there's too many of them.
Too many of them.
Which is kind of that middle. And then your biggest complaint is thematic.
And that was actually not even a big complaint. That's a gripe. But the biggest one is I can't remember the plot.
Okay.
It's slipping from my mind as we speak. Give me a couple months. By the end of this Miyazaki run, I will not remember what the plot of Castle in the Sky is.
It's pretty simple.
It's too simple. But I can't... No, so like the plot, the idea is, but I can't remember what things happen when, and also there are too many characters that actually don't matter. Even if I think they're fairly well fleshed out.
Okay. So well-characterized characters that have no bearing on the
story. Yes.
For example, Patsu's uncle.
Patsu's uncle. Poor guy.
He's my favorite.
He's so good.
So the one thing I would push back about characters on
Do it.
is not so much whether they're well realized, but whether they're compelling.
Mm-hmm.
I found the relationships between characters far more compelling than either of the characters that the relationship was between.
That's a good point. I can see that.
Princess
Mononoke.
No.
Sheeta.
Yeah.
Sheeta 1.
Despite the fact that her name is said many times through.
It's also Chicken Hatsu.
What?
That's how I remember his name.
Chicken Hatsu? My goodness. Anyway, their friendship is kind of the core of
this
the
movie.
And it definitely feels like their friendship is the core.
And then not them as people. I completely agree with that. I think that some of your ancillary characters have more backstory than either of these two.
You know, like...
I think it's got to stick together.
Yeah. I don't know.
I completely agree. There are certain moments in this movie where you're like, wow, that's a strong, cool friendship. Mm-hmm. I'm drawn into this movie because of just how much these two like each other.
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah. No, I completely agree.
And, like, how much they have each other's back in a way that feels very real.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the characters don't actually feel that real
completely agree.
To me. And I think that's part of the reason that when this movie hits for me, it hits so hard.
Yeah.
Is because when I am looking for a movie about friendship, like, there are no movies that I can think of that better exemplify just friendship as sort of a core.
I completely agree.
Like, you can bring up, like, Lord of the Rings, but that's, 20 minutes of the 3-hour runtime of each movie?
Yeah.
You get an hour, maybe, of friendship and,
exactly.
and 9 hours of movie.
Yeah. This is very bang for your buck. Like, introduction, development, and payoff of friendship.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a big part of it. Let's talk about theme, since...
Let's do it.
You were talking about how it feels thematically inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, it's not inconsistent. I just feel like they have really weird peaks and troughs. Like, it's another statement on war and aggression.
Mm-hmm.
Totally makes sense. That's what most of Miyazaki's works touch on in some aspect. There's a lot that goes on about war and violence and how following war and violence is like basically always the bad option.
I would say that depends heavily upon which movie you're talking about.
Yeah, but
I don't think Ponyo dwells too heavily on violence or war.
What's another recent one? There's a Kiki's Delivery Service doesn't.
Yeah.
My Neighbor Totoro doesn't.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
A lot of those ones do focus on friendship. Like
they do.
Almost all of his do focus on a friendship aspect. But if there's an antagonist, it's almost always war. Like a really strong antagonist, like a very heavy-handed antagonist. There's a very heavy-handed antagonist in The Boy and His Hair that is war as well.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet.
Exactly. So
I will say, Ponyo's dad.
Very war.
Is what?
Ish. What?
Oh,
he doesn't like the humans.
Yeah, he doesn't like the humans, but that's more prejudice than...
That's true.
My point is, he's kind of the primary antagonist of Ponyo.
Yeah, he is.
And he is not warlike.
That is true as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. But I would say maybe not half of them, but just under half have something to do with aggression and war.
Yeah.
And that's just makes another showing here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just peaks, and then like I feel like the disparity between the peaks and the troughs, the range is just too high for me.
Yeah.
Like we're talking very strongly about or we're feeling very strong, like when the robot wakes up, destroys the entire fortress.
Right.
We have these just like very, very vivid images of everything on fire.
Yeah.
And like all of these warlike structures.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go into like, we're kind of nice, calm. We're gonna go and make some food in this very cool airship, and everyone's gonna love each other. And then go back into the castle in the sky where everything is blowing up, and he murders like 150 people.
Okay, before we get to that point, we have the very cool and sort of like bittersweet element of walking through this beautiful city that has fallen into ruin.
Absolutely.
And I would say the amount of things that go from beautiful city that's fallen into ruin, and we're going to kind of walk through awe and majesty.
It was gorgeous.
That go into, okay, suddenly the bad guys have shown up and they're blowing everything up because they have no respect. In media across, it's super common.
Super common.
I don't think that this is.
It's like it's the disparity. Like normally whenever you're walking through this kind of cool, tranquil, serene thing in at least modern media, and you know that the enemies are going to show up and do something bad, it isn't as perfect as it is in Miyazaki, you know? Like it's just such a good feeling that you have that whenever it transitions, I feel like I'm very now sad. Like very sad. Like more than I should be sad.
You don't
for
think
the
that's
movie
intentional?
that I'm. No, I do think it is. I think it's intentional. That's why I don't like it. It was too intense. I think it was perfectly done for the amount that they wanted to do, and he did it too well. Again, this is a kids movie.
Is this going to bump up your technical and bump down your enjoyment?
Maybe. We'll see. Again, I can't tell you what the plot is until we get to this castle in the sky. I can't remember how we get there.
Let's do the summary before we get too much further.
Let's go!
And I want you to go first.
Okay, sounds good. Castle in the Sky follows this princess who doesn't know she's a princess, who has a very cool magic stone that basically casts Featherfall anytime she's about to die. She meets up with this minor kid who's like, ooh, you're kind of cool. Let's go on an adventure together. You're being hunted by pirates? No, you're not. You're being hunted by the army. Or which one is it? And then they go and get captured by both of them independently. Eventually, they get to the point that they can go to this cool castle that this pendant is supposed to be going to. So they do. They fly there. And their ships get ripped to shreds except for the one really big one. And then once they get there, it's very pretty. Everything is serene. It's gorgeous. Nothing is bad. Except for the one homicidal maniac that is the movie's main antagonist, who doesn't show his homicidal tendencies until the last 25 minutes of the movie. And then he goes ham on killing literally anyone. Henchmen, doesn't matter. Army people, doesn't matter. As long as they're dead, he's happy because he is supreme. And then they destroy the city.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Thanks.
Girl, who we don't really know at the beginning, is in the captivity of shady CIA man.
Yeah.
She escapes by jumping out a window.
Yeah, she does.
From a Zeppelin. Falls down, meets Patsu. They, together, go on an adventure where they escape from pirates and CIA people. Except for the CIA people capture her, and they have to... Patsu has gotten separated and joins up with the pirates in order to kidnap her back.
Get her back?
No, kidnap her back.
Oh, you're
right. During this time, we find out that the magical stone has magical powers that make magical robots do magical things.
Woo!
And then, so she loses the stone, gives it to the CIA man. They go off and independently go look for the castle in the sky based on information that they have, respectively. They find the castle. The castle is cool, and it's serene, and it's beautiful and majestic.
Gorgeous.
And covered in nature.
So much nature. It's a point of contention.
Yeah. And then the bad guys show up, and they don't have respect for the castle or for nature. And they just start shredding things. And then the CIA man turns out to not just be shady, but straight up evil.
Really evil.
And he actually wants to recreate or reestablish the castle in the sky as basically his own independent kingdom that is just a mighty fortress with lasers that shoot out at the ground.
Heckin'
and
lasers.
It's cool, but bad. Those are my favorite things. Cool, but bad. Anyway, so Patsu and Shish Kebab.
Shish Kebab!
They team up to destroy the castle with the magic amulet because they've got a spell of destruction.
Yeah, they do.
And then they escape and they join up with the pirates, and the pirates are holding jewelry in their boobs, and that's the end.
That's the end. I really liked yours. That was good. I think we both had some pretty solid summaries on this one.
Yeah.
That was good.
You combine those summaries and you have Castle in the Sky. You don't actually have to watch it anymore.
There you go.
We just saved you like
2.5
45
hours.
minutes. Okay.
What?
I don't know.
What movies have we watched that are 45 minutes?
No. I was thinking that I don't
They've
know.
already been watching this for 23.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. How long is this movie?
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay. We saved you like
an hour and
45 minutes. Yeah.
I see what you're saying now. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Also, they shouldn't be watching this if they haven't seen the movie. Based on your rule.
I mean, I know people. They go past spoiler walls all the time. They're like, I don't care about spoilers.
They don't care about them.
And then they hear stuff like our summaries, and they're like, oh, actually, I would love to
see this movie.
Exactly. But now it's been spoiled for me. And, okay.
How many of those people do that?
Okay, I'm going to be real with you.
It's a different app.
So Trinity was reading through the Mistborn books, right?
Okay. Spoilers for Mistborn?
She is... I'm not going to say what they are.
Okay, cool.
She doesn't care about spoilers at all. She will look up things
so my sister.
to find out...
My sister and my mom do that.
What's going to happen in things. But what bothers me is she also has no barrier for, hey, this person doesn't want spoilers about the thing that they're going through. So I'm reading through the third Mistborn book. I already know one of the things that happens at the end. Because not only has she brought it up, which would be
is it the
fine,
big one?
Probably.
Okay.
But it would probably have been fine if she had brought it up once, because I didn't know what it meant at the time.
Exactly.
But now I do know what it means because she's brought it up every single time I talk about the way that she talks about spoilers.
Yeah.
And so it's just baked into my mind.
You know.
And I'm trying to forget it in a 700+ page book.
How's it working for you?
It's not working.
That's not working.
I know how this character's arc is going to end, and I'm so mad about it.
Yeah.
It's Sazed. Sazed's arc.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Wonder if I can like pump your mind with disinformation, and if it would work.
Not about this particular thing.
Dang.
Again, it's been branded like.
Yeah, it's in your brain.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yep. It's like when I found out the spoiler for The Usual Suspects, which I don't know if you know, actually.
The Usual Suspects.
That one I was able to gaslight myself enough with.
Nice.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, this one's hard. All right, so we're back to Castle in the Sky.
Mm-hmm.
We just did our summaries. Oh yeah, my primary gripe with this is the plot.
Yeah.
Both of us glossed over approximately 45 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Most of the fortress doesn't matter. The only thing that matters...
It's a lot of world building and a lot of lore.
Love the world building and lore.
Which, when it comes to the plot, aren't super impactful, but it does make that later part of the plot feel a lot more grand.
They do a really good job with promise and payoff in this.
Yeah. I would say that entire fortress is just planting things for payoff later.
And also the beautiful parallel between the fortress and the castle in the sky.
Yeah.
gorgeous. I didn't really, again, because I'd forgotten the fortress exists in this movie.
Yeah.
I hit it again, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's such a cool parallel.
Right,
I had forgotten this fortress exists.
And again, I would say that's one of those things that's just like the subtle touches of this film.
Absolutely.
One of the things
like
when they
little less subtle. Sorry, keep going.
One of the things when they first get there that I just absolutely adore about this is they don't start with like a big shot of the castle and like a sweeping soundtrack.
No.
It's silence, and you just
Silence
watch the
while they're gliding.
You just watch the glider, and you like see clouds, and then you see the grass that they land on, and like that's it.
That's it.
It
takes a hot sec to see the full picture.
Yeah, and even then, once you see it, like it's not like this like big reveal. It's a like sort of slow, like almost discovery piece by piece kind of thing.
No, I completely agree with that. That one is really, really good.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
I would say that's probably the best use of silence in this movie, but it also does it fairly regularly to convey emotion.
Yeah.
Pretty well.
No, the silence in this movie was really, really well done.
Yeah.
And then the sound design in the silence, like it wasn't music, but just like the leaves rustling, and the tether for the glider hitting a tree, like all of that little stuff was fantastic.
Yeah.
Shido is always asleep longer than anyone else.
Yes.
If she falls asleep, she'll wake up last.
That
is a rule.
Yes.
I think it's a cute rule because she's cute.
Excellent.
That's it. Oh, I was going to say the spell for please go and navigate me to this really cool city in the sky and destroy the city.
A lot longer.
Are very different sizes. You have like 6 to 8 words in the please take me to the city, and you have one for destroy the city, which like plot wise works super well.
Yeah.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, wow. There's a simplicity in it, you know, like destruction is so easy.
Yeah.
Generally.
I wonder if that was something that Miyazaki wanted.
Yeah.
If it was something where he was like, I want to show the fact that building things and doing things is far more difficult than destroying them.
Yeah. Which if he did, like that's what I feel every time I watch that. It's just like, oh wow.
Yeah.
It's gone. And there's so much in this movie where it is just, oh, it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that is really, really well done.
Yeah.
And this might bump me up to 7.5 on both. We'll see. I just wish I could remember the movie better. That's all I want from this movie, Connor, is just to remember it better.
That's fair. I think I just want things to flow a little smoother.
Yes.
I think that's my biggest thing. Really, the transitions from everything at the beginning. I think the beginning is much rougher than the ending.
I completely agree.
Up through the time when they get out of the fortress on, I'm like, okay, we're on easy street.
We're going. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
But that first part is just kind of choppy.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it is what it is. I wouldn't say that it's bad. It's just...
I don't know a Miyazaki movie that isn't slightly choppy. I think the ones that are on the list might be the only ones.
Yeah.
Like Howl's Moving Castle has some choppy parts.
Howl's Moving Castle is very choppy. And that's part of the reason that it's one of the lower options for me.
Interesting.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. Spirited Away, generally not choppy, in my opinion.
No, there's some choppiness in what I would say the beginning of the last act.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
but
point.
It kind of fits because it's supposed to feel dreamlike in that.
Exactly.
And so I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
I really can't wait for you to see his most recent movie. I want your thoughts on it.
I wanted to see it when it was in theaters.
I know. We'll get it. It's going to be great.
Cool.
All right. What other things do you like or dislike about this movie that you want to go and call out?
I mean, it's a given in a Miyazaki film, but the visual detail
is just so
absolutely gorgeous. Especially when he's depicting strangely enough, nature or machinery.
Nature and machinery. Like, he always makes machinery feel organic.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Yes.
It's always really nice. He loves gliders. In these first 3 movies, every one of them has a cool helicopter glider thing, which is super cool.
Well, he has a fascination with flying, with flying machines.
That makes total sense.
Which, I don't know if you've watched any of the behind-the-scenes stuff of him talking about that, but he has always loved flying.
So cool.
Have you seen The Wind Rises yet?
I feel like yes, but also I don't think I have.
Okay. This is one of the last movies that we'll watch for this, but the central character is the engineer that invented the Zero fighter.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, like, his most grounded, like, just true to human life film is about an engineer designing an airplane.
Yeah. So sweet.
Yeah.
One of the most, like, effective airplanes of, like, all time, too. Like, the Zero is a great plane.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's so
anyway,
cool.
We'll get to that movie.
Hayao Miyazaki. Yeah, almost everything has something flying in it.
Yeah.
Ponyo
might be the only one that doesnn't have flying.
And I think the thing you have there is like a water vessel that is essentially flying. But I think you're right. Like the father's vessel, I would almost say, is a flying ship of some kind, but through the water.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't think there's actually like legit flying in that movie.
But anyway, I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this one.
Yeah.
The nature themes felt out of place a little bit toward the end.
They kind of just show up.
Yeah. Like,
nature.
Yeah.
Nature.
Like, I feel like that was just Miyazaki wanting to really hammer home how bad of a dude this was.
This guy was, exactly.
Like, not only does he not care about nature, but he just actively despises it.
I feel like also coming from his last movie, which was just the focus was nature.
Yeah.
Like, it felt comfortable, you know? If someone had seen the last one and then watched this one, it's like, oh, cool, I remember. He's got the cute little Pikachus.
Oh, yeah. Cute. I don't know what they're actually called.
Me either.
But
they bite you. That's all I know.
They bite you, and then they're your friends after that.
Exactly.
Assuming you don't swat them.
Yeah.
When they bite you.
Then they'll just love you.
So, anyway, got anything else to say about this?
I don't think so. So before we close up, I'm going to show you this because it's cool. All right, everybody. I'm sorry for those on the audio. I'll explain what this is with my words. But online, you can see this just came off my 3D printer. Satisfying as always. Just pop this thing off. This will be our tier list. So, what we're gonna have are little coins that you can put into each of these, and each so actually it goes this way. So I have more tiers in here than I thought I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So S, A, B, C, D, F.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just skip E.
Yeah.
As you always do.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's almost never an E tier. So that's
Some
perfect.
people put an E tier on, but they look wrong.
Okay. I hope that these come out at some point. Anyway, you can go and print legs for it and be like this. So it's slightly higher up, which is awesome. And we'll be able to go and slot the ones that we like.
Yeah.
Which will be really cool. So this one's mine. It'll be green. We'll talk about what color yours wants to be after this.
Cool.
We'll have these out and we'll be able to put coins on them as we make them.
Yeah. And I'll have to go back through and find out what I rank Nausicaa because I don't remember exactly.
You can also just like retcon it.
Fair.
I think all of these are going to change as we go through them.
Yeah, probably.
As you remember seeing them and as we see new ones.
I don't think Lupin will.
Unfortunate. I mean, Lupin is probably here for me. It's probably D tier.
D tier?
Yeah.
But if you have nothing in the F tier, is it even an F tier?
Yeah. Means that nothing is F.
Fair enough. You also do not tend to have as strong feelings of dislike.
Exactly.
If you dislike something, it's because they did something to bother you.
Yeah, like Gladiator.
Yeah. Still don't really get that one, but it's whatever. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So next week, I'm hoping to have more of the coins printed, and then we'll be able to start actually tiering it. It'll be great.
Cool.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah.
What are we watching next week?
We are watching... I don't think it's Porco Rosso. I wanted to say My Neighbor Totoro is next.
Oh, cool.
We'll be watching what we watch next week.
Exactly. If you would like to know ahead of time, check out a complete filmography of Hayao Miyazaki online. There's a couple of them. Make sure you choose one that's actually just films. There's only 12 films. Howl's Moving Castle is on there, however much Connor likes to forget it.
Yeah, but that's mostly because of reasons. Hold on, I'm gonna get the
I'm doing my best
the next one. Yes, thank you for stalling. Next week is My Neighbor Totoro.
It is My Neighbor Totoro? Fantastic.
Yep. We could have just gone off of my vibes.
Yeah, we could have. Should have.
So,
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Cool.
How do we end this?